But now let's chat with Charlie and then we'll head to the gym. Oh yeah. Recovery better to extend the periods in between sessions and to organise ourselves. So as we go through, as the new programme is starting or started, and we work out the kinks of the new area and the new training and all that, we'll figure out the right timings and everything. But today we're talking about weights for rowing, and if you should do it, if you should not do it, kind of what type of weights I'm doing right now. But first things first, we have to get to do some weights, so let's get to it. And we've made it outside of the gym post-weight session. A little bit of upper body working on pulling and pressing. Bench press, people might say that it's a pointless exercise for rowing, which it doesn't really have anything to do with rowing, but it's more to do with balancing out the body. So the rowing motion is very pull orientated with the upper body, pushing with the legs. So then you kind of want to balance it out with a bit of press, and also it helps being balanced, being more robust, which is very important when you have a lot of miles to do, which ties me into a main point of lifting. But before that, it is time for some food, because remember, food is fuel, and after any session, whether it's weights, whether it's on the erg doing a flat out 2k, or whether it's on the water, we have to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel. Oh yeah. And we've went for some Weetabix this morning post session, and a little bit of protein powder too. But I'll probably have, so it's 3 in there, maybe 6, 8, 9 bits of Weetabix, quite a few, maybe a slight bit of honey or so, but a bit of fuel there post session. And then we're going to walk the dogs after fueling up and see how they get on. So Max is here, he is a lovely husky, and we're trying to let Max and Yam bond a little bit. But now, fuel up, then walk the dogs, then chat a little bit about weights. So let's get to it. And we've made it back from walking. Yam, say hello. Yam, and Max is over there. But we're talking about weights, and like I said, it's very important, or at least I feel like it's very important, to be robust and for a little bit of injury prevention as well. But that's generally the accepted, yes, that's the accepted opinion of weights for rowing, I would say. And there's definitely more to it, and I'm doing weights for that reason. And like specifically the bench press, it kind of balances you out a little bit. But also there's weaknesses for me that I've been working on, and one of them is strength in general. So getting stronger should help me in my rowing. And I felt like before when I have made big improvements, I've felt like it's a case of I can take the stroke I want to take a bit easier because I was that bit stronger, and therefore I could put a bit more focus on the stroke and how I was rowing rather than trying to really focus on just holding on, if that makes sense. But that's when I get back onto the water, which we'll be doing. A lot of people have been asking, where's the rowing? What's happening with the rowing? Well, the rowing will be coming soon. Like I said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, so making sure that everything's finalised, whether it's the house that I'm trying to get to, whether that's the boats that I'm trying to use, or blades, or clubs, or the water itself isn't exactly fantastic at the moment in the winter either. And also if you take the GB rowing team as an example, they are currently on a land training camp with absolutely no rowing. So if I was to say it's me versus them, which I wouldn't really like to say it is, but I would like to get back onto the GB rowing team. So they're doing no rowing, I'm doing no rowing, so we're not losing anything in that regard. But with the help of the Leander coaches this past half season, I feel like I've learned a lot about the stroke itself to mean that when I do get back in the boat, it's less of a confusion. It's more about, okay, I want to row this way. This is how I was rowing last time I was in a boat. This is how I'm going to do that. So that's kind of what I've been looking at doing. But like I said, it will be back on the water soon. And I'm still a rower and still going for as much of a rowing success as possible, just taking a different route at the moment. But now I'm going to talk to Charlie about the weights and sort of the program in general, and then we're going to go back to the gym for another workout on the rowing machine. This time we're working on sort of the half-hour type pain, if that makes sense. So it's 4 by 10 minutes where you sort of float around half-hour pace or a little bit faster, so you can feel that sort of burning in the legs for a little longer than half an hour. So when you do get to the half hour, you know what to expect. But now let's chat with Charlie, and then we'll head to the gym. Oh yeah. I read the articles regarding peak power in rowing.
Yeah.
It mentioned, one of the biggest things it mentioned, it was like, oh well, it's obvious that if you can produce more power, then producing less, like your peak power, producing less is going to be easier.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the the areas you've identified that you need to work on, is that you need to actually, you've got the strength for a few strokes, but you don't have the power to carry it on.
Yeah. But that's what I was interested. The timing. The article suggested that it was 55% of your max power should be roughly your 2K.
Yeah, I think the one thing with that article was that it was done on young athletes. I think that was.
Yeah, and there was
And so I'm not sure I agree with the percentage, but the theory behind it is.
Because according to my PB.
Yeah.
55% is 200 watts less. And according to the Concept 2 watts to split calculator, I should be able to do a 55% of my max watts is, we'll say 1150 roughly. So I should be able to do a 107. No, that's not right. What's 55% of 1150?
Calculator, quick maths.
632. What's 632? 632. So I should be able to do a 122 split. No, a 528. I should be able to do according to that. But it's still right. Even so, like obviously the studies.
I think it is correct, but one, it was done with a small group,
Yeah.
and two, it's using young athletes.
Yeah.
Who, it's young athletes are always at different levels of development, and looking at someone who's trained over, X years, you've trained 10 years now, then you're going to be you'll develop very differently to that. And I think improving your power is there's a lot of knock-on effects from it, because I think you've broken down every year for
a few years,
yeah. And for whatever reason that is, your body's not being able to cope with the training load, and you've identified during the season, you've lost muscle mass, you've lost strength, various things like that, and it's off the back of that your power's coming down. And I think that's the most important thing of getting. That's the most important thing of doing the weights, is to actually get you to a point where you're able to deal with a real training load for what you want, which is 4 years.
And hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a chat with Charlie. Now it is time to go to the gym. Are you? And that is the workout finished. We ended up doing 10 by 4, not 4 by 10. Just trying to see the split for half an hour for more than half an hour, if that makes sense. So it started off, felt like I was absolutely caning it, but the heart rate wasn't going too high. And then just a little bit lower everyone. Heart rate started to pick up and higher and higher and higher. And that last one, giving it some big ones. Even then, 137.2 on that last one wasn't that's slower than the last 5 minutes of the half hour did the other day, but that was after a day off and one session. We're in the middle of a week and pretty big weights this morning, which will have an impact on this, but pretty sweet workout. Very, very sweaty as well. Not sure if you can see, but now you've guessed it, after a session it's time to fuel up, and hopefully we can get the start of Yam Squad cooking, because remember, food is fuel. Oh yeah, and we've made it back to Charlie's house. We're gonna make some fuel this time. No. And we've made it back to Charlie's house. We're making a Spanish tortilla. Charlie takes himself as a professional chef.
Something like that.
Awesome chopping skills. But I will take you through and something a little bit different, going for some cooking shots. So let's see what happens. We're finished, or Charlie has finished making lunch for us as Spanish omelette, Spanish tortilla. We put the potatoes in the microwave to speed up the process, so it only took 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it was pretty easy. So potatoes, we put sausage in as well, so sausage in the pan, potatoes in the microwave, potatoes in the pan. When the potatoes are done, eggs in the pan, and spices and whatnot, and then we're done. And now we have a big plate of eggs, potato and sausage. Absolutely delicious. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a montage there, and maybe I'll put the recipe, or at least a link to the recipe, in the description below. So let's fuel up. And we've made it. Post fueling up deliciousness, a little bit of recovery, and chilling out for the rest of the day. Hopefully you enjoyed just a little bit of talking about weights. Let me know in the comments below what you think about weights for rowing, and maybe I can talk a little bit more about it, because it is really interesting. I feel like there are a lot of different opinions on weights, so it'd be great to hear yours if you think weights are not useful or weights are useful. But that will be it for today's episode of Jam Squad. Hopefully you enjoyed the cooking edition, and I would quite like to do more of that. And obviously, because food is fuel. And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will see you tomorrow for the next episode of the vlogs. Oh yeah!